We all have so many questions in our lives, and we try to figure out the answers, sometimes by asking our friends or our family or our loved ones, but yet the questions and the answers to these questions remains elusive. Well, I'm here with Tori Hartman, who's here to show us that every question we would ever ask, the answer is within ourselves. Tori, thanks for being here.
Thank you. I couldn't have said that better. Okay, now we're done.
So you have created a deck of cards, the Chakra Oracle Wisdom cards. How do these work with people?
You know, I have to tell you, I think it's somehow magical. And I'm going to be honest in the sense that I had a near-death experience in my 20s. And after that, angels came and told me these stories, and I wrote them down. I honestly put them in drawers for over 10 years. They just stayed there. And one day I created a mastermind group. I moved to California from New York. And when I got out here, I said, I want to be around my tribe, you know, creative people. And one day I just reached in the drawer, and one of the fables was there, and we started reading them. And everybody was, these are amazing. I said, they are? I thought they were silly. You know, it's one of those like, oh, come on. But people said, no, these are really good. And from that original group, we developed what later became the manuscript. And one of my favorites was everybody came in one day, we were all very down, right? Talk about wanting answers, right? So we all come in, we're all kind of like, down. And I said, well, why don't we just pull a card and see what happens? So at those days, it was just index cards. So we literally did not have the deck yet. We pulled a card, and we created from the joy card, which is actually what you have on.
Yes, I have my little ring you gave me.
The joy card has an exercise in it for the group that we developed, which was, so you're about to be on a big talk show, and so what are you talking about? And everybody took turns, and one person said, can I just accept my Academy Award? And we said, sure. So she did. And what was interesting was 7 years later, seeing her actually accept it for the category that she was in. And the reason I'm sharing that part of the story is that these cards really developed, and the whole thing developed from that. So how they work is every single one of them is based on a chakra. So there are 7 cards in each section, and you have 7 basic chakra that we know of, that we work with. And if we look at, like, all the red cards are our foundation, issues of whether or not what we're standing for or standing on. The orange cards are our emotions. Yellow is going to be how we think. I was actually at a trade show, and this couple came up to me, and I love Reiki. I don't know if you've gotten to work with some. Okay. So this woman comes up to me, and she says, well, my husband is, you know, he's got a blocked 3rd chakra. And I said, really? I said, so your 3rd chakra's blocked? And he said, I don't know, she tells me it is. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, it turns out, I said to him, I was standing there, and I just said, do you have a new business that you're starting? And he said, yeah. I said, so you're kind of in the planning stage of it? And she was like, yeah. And he said, yeah. And I said, that means your yellow chakra, your 3rd chakra, is really active. And I think we live in a time when everybody is so quick to jump and say, here's what's wrong. Let's fix it. And I'm saying nothing's wrong. Let's look at what modality you're in and go from there. And I think that what I've discovered in the 25 years working with this,
right,
that the answers are right there. So they're mirrors to what's going on for you. I don't know if I answered your question or told stories, but it's kind of, that's really
good.
It. Yeah. That's really the journey.
So do we pick a card? Do we shuffle the cards? Is it like Las Vegas?
Well, it could be. One of the things I would say is for you, because you're very intuitive and you've been on this journey for a long time, I would say to you, I would say, take your right, are you right-handed? Okay. So with your right hand, look at what your intention is right now. And what I'd like you to do is, you're doing that, I'm going to invite you, and for those people listening as well, notice how my tonality changed and the energy between us is shifting. And even in this moment, what I'd like you to do is just energetically go ahead and take your hand. And as you wave them over the cards, notice if there's one that's speaking to you or feels warmer. And it's okay if it isn't, just take your time and breathe. And just ask for that card to call to you. And what you'll do is, when you're ready, and by the way, if you're doing this and you don't feel anything, one of the things you can do is just stop and pick one. because it's always perfect.
We're gonna pick another one.
Well, actually, do you know how many people say that to me? I'm going to show you this card, everybody, because everybody says that they'll pick that card and go, oh no. Now, two things I want you to notice. Number one, the color is the same color you're wearing. So this is about your heart, okay? It's the fourth chakra. And what I like to tell people with cards is what opposes exposes. So this isn't about you at all being a victim. It's about you freeing people from that modality in their life. So some of the things that I think we do, so one of the things that I think happens is that, especially when we look at cards, we look at the face value of it and we think, oh, I don't want that, when the richness is right under the surface. And I was sharing with somebody, one of the ways to approach a reading, and what we would do if I was doing this reading, which I am, I would, since I'm here, I'll do it. What I say to people is, I guess a number of months ago now, I was watching a documentary on the tsunami. And this couple had an experience, and I'll make this a short story. They were out scuba diving. And when they came back up, the boat was gone. And they said, well, we'll swim to shore. So they swam, and there's no shore. And they swam, and then they went by their hotel. And they realized something had happened. But because they had literally dove under the tsunami, it didn't affect them in that way. And so what I want to say to you energetically is dive under your brain. You're diving under what you think is the fact when it's on the table. And if we look at the old paradigm of, your brain plus your intuition equals pursuing your dreams. Well, what if it's actually your intuition minus your brain equals living your dream? So when we look at this, that's about breaking through that glass ceiling. And that's something that, as I look at it, pull another card for us, if you will, because I always look at things as darkness, dawn, and light. So the first card is in your subconscious, or what's very deep within. The second card that you're pulling here is complacency. And that second card, if I look at that again, you can look at that and go, oh gosh, like another one. But what I want to say is actually it means you're not living somebody else's dream anymore. And I'm going to venture to say here that what's really dawning on you is a new foundation, new home. This also has to do with you no longer living the dream that someone else wanted for you. And this is a very big change that happened for you probably in the last 5 years, but it's really dawning on you now how your work is really about freeing people and stepping into not being complacent, not settling for something that doesn't work anymore.
So these cards are about what we're letting go of or leaving behind?
They can be, yeah. When we look at this, but let's look at what you're stepping into, if we can, because yes, this could be, but also let's look at what you're going to create from it, right? Because the light is the highest card. So if we look at the darkness, what's dawning on you, and what's dawning on you also is that you're living your dreams. So let's take a look at the third card based on, okay, here we go. So as we look at the cards, this is, and I'm going to talk about chakra here as well. This is a seventh chakra card, and one of the things I did in the seventh chakra was I created all of the seventh chakra to be neutral, because spirit's neutral. Spirit doesn't have an opinion about what we really do.
Right.
And so the impartiality is the Bahana Beige fable. Each of these are based on a fable. And the Bahana Beige fable is really about the neutral dictator in a funny way. She's the governing person of the town. And she definitely comes in and says, let's be fair with people. And this is about you really being fair and seeing a lot of sides of what going, Now, one of the things I want to say is that because you've been so neutral with a lot of things, that's why things are turning out very well. You've really stayed away from, you're someone who probably, like, everybody looks around and goes, where is she? There's a debate going on, you're gone. It's like, where'd she go? There's an argument with the kids, you're gone. It's like, what? I want you to solve it. No, you'll resolve it. You've gotten very, very good at this. Now let's talk about your intention. If I look at this, really with your heart, giving up the idea of, that anybody's a victim. Everybody, it's really the victim-volunteer conversation. But also, when I look at the second card of complacency, that's a beautiful card of realizing that you're no longer going to live someone else's dream. Has a lot to do with your mother, has a lot to do with tying into that, of what the expectations could have been for you. And really what happens, what I love about that card, is when that comes up, it's really a very strong symbol of, I don't have to live that dream. I had someone who, just to give you an example, someone who pulled that card, and they were, their mother wanted them to run her business. It was one of those, and she realized she didn't want to run the business, and she walked away, and she realized that it was just a huge opening for her. So when we look at red in that first chakra, that's going to be very important with which direction you're going. So that is going to tell me you're building on a new idea. And part of it is giving up the old idea too.
So if someone is working with these cards on a daily basis, do you pick one card? What does that practice look like?
You know, for me, it's so funny because I don't do that. Different people do that. People will pick a single card. I work more with the energy of multi-generational healing. I work with how a lot of this work, a lot of things, for example, what you're here to heal is really the issues of your grandparents. So you're not your parents. Everybody thinks, oh my gosh, my mother scarred me. Well, the good news is moms everywhere, you're off the hook. It's the grandparents, it's their, you know. Because here's the thing, if we healed, if our grandparents had a good life, then in our mind, our parents would have had it better, and then we'd have it easier. So if we really look, if I was going to do a spread for you in this, I would look at your issues around the grandparents, what you're here to heal, and in essence, what your gifts are. When I look at that, we really find the gifts. So when you say, how do I work with these cards? The first thing I do is I learn the fables. I read the fables, because every day, every time I read a fable, I see something new. I was doing a study in London. I was teaching a few weeks ago, and we pulled one. I said, let's just read the fable. Let's see what comes up. And everybody's like, okay. And we read the fable, and I went, wow, I didn't know that character was gay. And everybody looked at me, and they were like, but you, I said, no. It came through me, not to me. So I'm aware of it, but everybody works with this very differently. And even as I said to you, the artist who did these cards called me right before I had to self-publish these. Nobody would publish them. I spent my life savings. I now know what 10,000 units look like when they showed up in my driveway, you know. And then I hired the artist to do it, and ultimately now they're published by a publisher. But the journey, and this is the important part, is, and I was sharing this with you, is that I think this deck's really about not dying with your music in you, you know, that cliche, because Gretchen, the artist, died 6 months after the deck came out. And she had said to me, as I mentioned, that she said, I feel like there's another card. I said, no, I feel an angel, but I don't feel a card. And then I realized she shepherded this for us. So when I say this to you, you know, there's ways to work with this deck. However, I think it's so much about you approaching it for you. And when we look back at the three chakra you picked, it's what's coming up for you is about your heart. And if you're having an issue in a particular chakra, you know, when someone says, I'm blocked in that chakra, you know, I love that. I was walking down an aisle in a New Age show, and somebody came up to me and then went, I think I have to unblock your chakra. I said, step back from my chakra, get away from me. You know, and they were like, what do you mean? I said, my chakra just fine. I'm busy in that area. It's just busy. You know, it's like
preoccupied.
That's exactly
it's not broadcasting right now.
That's it. So the thing is, like with your green chakra, it's like, that's because it's not victim. It's about realizing that it's time for you to be the star of your own show and to really teach others to do that. So how do we work with these? Well, I would say pull a card. Read the fable. More importantly, in the toolkit are the original fables. So in the deck, when we did the deck, I had somebody say to me, I was teaching a class, and they turned to me and they go, so I notice you don't have a lot about the chakra in each one. You don't describe what each chakra means. And I went, no, I didn't. And they said, why? I said, do you want the truth? They said, yeah. I said, there wasn't enough room in the book. You know, so we had to cut that part out. So there's several ways to work with it. First of all, you can pull it for a yes or no answer. You can see which direction you're going. So if we look at something like this, for example, if I'm looking at both of these cards, and they're both orange, I would say to you, when we look at those two orange cards, we're looking at issues around our emotions. And look at that, 3 orange cards. So what that tells me right now is that what's going on for the person that we're looking at, probably people at home, I would say to you, if people are watching this right now, looking at this, it's about looking at how you relate to things emotionally. Because remember, how we relate to the issue is the issue. So I'll just pull the first card, and I'm gonna pull it reversed. So go ahead, it's because it's facing me, but okay. There you go.
It's there.
First one, expansion.
Okay. Okay.
So the expansion card, go ahead and pull the second card. Victim. This seems to be coming up as a theme. And go ahead and pull the third card. And let's, there you go. Oh, isolation. So one of the things I want to say to you is remember that what opposes exposes, everybody. So don't look at the cards face value word for word. What I'd like you to do is remember that when we look at these three words, the first thing is this week is really going to be about seeking wiser counsel than you have before. Don't go back to the same people. You're going to get the same responses. And that's the thing with the expansion card. You want to talk to new people about new ideas. Your second card, victim, it's not that you're a victim, it's that you're not doing that anymore. And your heart is open to new opportunities. Notice new people coming into your life and what that's going to look like for you. And the third card, isolation, is actually one of my favorites because it's really all about saying you're ready. What are you waiting for? So what this is if you've got a project or something that you'd like to get out to the world, this is a good time for you to not only speak to people about it, also to understand that people are ready to hear and they're going to relate to you. Don't be afraid of that, of bringing your work out. And the third card, isolation, tells me don't hide in your house with it. You've got to get people involved. You've got to bring people in because they want to know you. And there you go.
So when you have these messages and you have these tools, then what are the actions to put behind it?
Well, one of the things that I think is the best thing to do is in the little book, it has questions like the thoughts. So if we just grab it and we grab one thought, for example, every single card has a personal inquiry. And just to start you out with the idea of the blue cards, I'm grabbing it, hold on. Okay, expansion. The personal inquiry says, how can I create powerful alliances? And then are new people actually entering my life? So these questions will be things to contemplate and think about, and those are the questions for you to look at for the week.
Exciting, very fun tool. So how often should we read for ourselves with our Chakra Wisdom Oracle cards?
I think as often as you like. I think it's really how you work with the cards is really, like we said, it's as individual as you. So if you feel you want to get a reading for the week or a daily card, there are many people who pull a daily card because it gives them a question for the day or an intention to set. So as often as you like and whatever calls to you. And I would say take a look in particular at which chakra is coming up because it'll tell you what to look at in your life.
Wonderful. Tori, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very fun and beautiful and colorful and just very, very inspiring.
It's fun.